1. Men the size of mountains ploughed waist-deep through the world's oceans. Polished blades, each one long enough to level cities, flashed sunlight. Boots crushed delicate coastlines to rubble, obliterated fishing towns, gouged craters in the soft green fields of sear and crash. This is the way the world ends. This was Kaden's first thought, staring down on the destruction from above. A city, after all, was only stone, a forest no more than sap-wet wood. What was a river's course but a flash carved through the land? Apply enough force, the world itself would deform. The shapes of ridge and valley meant nothing. Bring enough power to bear, and you could split cliffs, tear down mountains, rend the very bedrock and see it scattered across the waves. Bring fire, and the world would burn. Bring water, and it would sink beneath the deluge. The old forms of sea and stone could be remade in flood and deflagration, and those other shapes, the desperate, petty lines that men and women dreamed across the dirt to indicate their kingdoms, their little empires, those, too, would be annihilated with all the rest in a heartbeat's Armageddon. No. This was Kaden's second thought. It is not the world. It is just a map. A vast map, true, the size of a small parade ground, the most expensive map in all the world, commissioned by a vain Annurian Republic for their council chamber, but still just a map. Legions of craftsmen had laboured day and night for months to complete the project, masons to carve the mountains and seaside cliffs, gardeners to cultivate the myriad grasses and perfect stunted trees, hydraulic engineers to guide the rivers in their courses, jewellers to cut the sapphires for the mountain tarns, the glaciers of glass and diamond. It stretched the full length of the hall, some 200 feet from end to end. The granite from the Bone Mountains came from the Bone Mountains, the red stone of the Ancas from the Ancas. Pumps hidden beneath the surface fed the great rivers of Vash and Eridroa, the Chervian, the Vina, the Agavani, and the Black, along with dozens of streams whose names Kaden didn't know, those flowing between high banks and around oxbows, over miniature cataracts and through wet swamps built up from soft green moss, emptying finally into the small world's seas and oceans. Oceans that, by some clever contrivance, rose and fell with the orbit of the moon. One could stroll the catwalks above, staring down at astonishing replicas of the great cities, Olon and Sia, Dombang and the Bend. Annur itself sprawled over a space the length of Kaden's arm. He could make out the sparkling facets of the Temple of Intara, the great avenue of the Godsway, complete with diminutive statuary. The tiny canal boats swinging at anchor in the basin, the stark red walls of the Dawn Palace, and stabbing like a lance up past the catwalk, so high that you could reach out and touch the tower's top without stooping, Intara's spear. Like the men and women who sat day after day bickering above it, the massive map was both magnificent and petty. Until that moment, it had served a single function, to make those seated above it feel like gods. To that end it had showed nothing more than a dream world, one unmarred by all their failures. No fires raged unchecked in the northern forests. No towns burned in the south. No one had churned the grass fields of Gan to mud or blockaded the desperate port of Kiokang. Small painted soldiers indicated the location of field armies, tiny men representing Adare's treacherous legions and the Council's own more numerous Republican guard dotted the terrain, swords raised in motionless postures of challenge or triumph. They were always standing, those false men. They never bled. Of war's ravages and destruction, the map bore no trace. Evidently Annur lacked the craftsmen to sculpt starvation, or terror, or death. We didn't need craftsmen, Kaden thought. We needed soldiers with heavy boots to remind us what we've done, to grind this little world of ours to mud. The sudden, unexpected, undeniable